Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a breaking news edition of Birds 365, something I do not get to say very often. And only in the city of Philadelphia are you winners, even during the bye week. Welcome in, everybody. John McMullen will be joining me shortly here, closer to our 8 a.m. normal start time. But I felt the need to jump on a little early here and discuss the trade that the Eagles have just made before the show. I got John in the green room, so he'll join me right now, and we'll be able to break it down together. Johnny Mack coming in now. The Eagles make a trade this morning, everybody. They trade a third-round pick, a 2026 third-round pick to Miami for Jaelan Phillips. John, I just started the show 1 minute ago. I didn't know when you would be in, but not often, John, do we get breaking news before the show on Birds 365. Very rare, John.
Yeah, it is rare. This morning, evidently, it was done Sunday night, so announced early this morning. Can confirm it is a done deal. I believe Adam had it first. This has been the scuttlebutt around the league. Wrote about it, I think, Saturday morning on Sports Illustrated. This is the player the Eagles had targeted for help on the edge. The only question was, what would the compensation be? Miami wanted at least a third-round pick. They were able to get it, but the key here is it's the Eagles' original third-round pick. So they have 2 third-round picks, but it's the Eagles' pick, so it's going to be very late in the round. So that's a positive for the Eagles.
And the Jets is the other pick they have, right, John? The Jets pick?
Yes. So it's very,
it's
it's
a big difference there, yeah.
Big difference. And the Dolphins also have agreed to pick up some of the remaining salary for Jaelan Phillips in 2025. So, essentially they're, buying an extra pick from Miami standpoint as a rebuilding team. And the Eagles get a potential, at least, difference-making player on the edge. And Vic Fangio, we always talk about, does Howie listen to Vic Fangio? Well, this is the player Vic Fangio wanted, so he's listening here. And, there's some injury issues, but this is a very talented, a very gifted player. And if things can click on this one, boy, it was a hell of a bye week for the Eagles, by the way. Everybody lost.
The show. I mean, only in Philly right now are you winners in your bye week. I mean, everybody lost if they wanted them to lose. They make 2 trades, and they sit at the top of the NFC right now after week 9.
Yeah, it couldn't have went any better. We'll see. The only thing is Dallas. If Dallas loses tonight, it'll literally be perfect. And you hate when somebody gets injured, but Jaden Daniels looks like significant injury, potential season-ending injury. So, boy, everything's coming up Eagles this morning. And this is a player, like I said, a lot of people got mad at me, not that high on the Jair Alexander trade, think that's more of a big name trap. This is a player that, when he walks into the building, he's your best edge rusher and can really be a meaningful piece of the puzzle if he stays healthy. It's also a rental, so to speak. He will become an unrestricted free agent, but if he plays well, signs a contract, worst case scenario, he'd be eligible for a comp pick formula. That depends on a lot of things. As I always say, you don't just get comp picks. It's a very complicated formula where you have to lose more than you sign, but he's Eagles property now, so he can contribute to that sort of weighing from Howie Roseman. But, good player and really, really should help the Eagles.
Yeah, we'll get into some more about the player. We'll get into some of that injury concern. I just want to remind everybody, welcome in today. Don't forget to hit that like button. Very rarely, it might be our first time, honestly, ever, where you have breaking news before Birds 365 hits the air. Normally, news does not come down at 7:30 in the morning. So shout out to Howie for getting it done early for us, for our business purposes. So thank you, Howie Roseman. The Eagles sent a third-round pick, everybody, for Jaelan Phillips today. And as John pointed out, they sent their own third-round pick. They have 2 third-round picks the Jets and their own. So they send their own third-round pick, which will be later in the third round, obviously, as compared to the Jets, which might be at the very top of the third round, currently one of the worst teams in the NFL. So that's the rundown on the player. John, I know you said you like the player. He is a player that has played very well. I mean, I don't want to go entirely off stats, but graded pretty highly. If you look at kind of his career, he's had a pretty good career. He's in the fifth-year option right now. He's never had a double-digit sack year, but he is a guy that is a disruptive edge rusher. How do you like the fit with Vic Fangio?
Yeah, I mean, Vic, that's the reason he's here. Vic was down there, liked the player a lot. I think a lot of people don't understand how good that Miami defense was that season. And then they suffered injuries to Phillips and Van Ginkel late and kind of fell apart. They had to pick up edge rushers off the street to play in the playoffs. So it was a very good defense, very good team. And Vic was doing some good things with Jaelan Phillips and liked the player. So, now the problem is, of course, that, coming into this season, and he's been healthy this season, but he played 8 games in 2023, played 4 games in 2024. So he does have, early in his career, he looked like he was going to be a superstar as a rookie and a second-year player as an edge rusher. Just looked like he was going to be a really big difference maker. And then the injuries kind of piled on. So obviously Miami's not having a great season, but he's played and he's got 3 sacks. And I think just going from one of the worst teams in football to one of the best is going to give him some juice, and hopefully stays healthy. And look, this guy's just better than what you have. He's not Myles Garrett, but he's better than what you have.
Right?
Oh yeah. What the minute he walks. Yeah. The minute he walks into the door, he's the best edge rusher you have.
So the 2 injuries, John, that he's had the last 2 years were November of 2023. So 2 seasons ago in November, he had an Achilles tear. It was a non-contact injury. It happened at MetLife Stadium. He missed the rest of the season there. And then last year, as you pointed out, he had an ACL tear at the end of September. That was, I believe, when he ran into his own teammate, Jordan Poyer, and he had tore his ACL. So he missed the remainder of the year last year. So he is coming off of 2 years, coming off of injuries. But, assuming he can stay healthy, I think this is going to be a really big pickup. It's going to be interesting, though, John, because technically right now he's a rental for this team, right? I mean, maybe they bring him, maybe they extend him long term, but he's a guy that's going to be looking for some big money. And, you wonder how that would fit into the plans here, for the future.
Well, as I said, then he would be eligible for a compensatory pick. Now, I think people don't understand that system. So it's not like if you lose a player, you get a pick. But if you lose a player who signs a big contract and you sign less than you lose, that'll be a 3rd round pick, end of the 3rd round if he gets a big deal. So you'd essentially be getting the pick back. One thing about Howie, he is a smart dude, man. So he's got every avenue thought out. And obviously, if he plays,
this team deserves a lot of credit too, right? I mean, the team does.
Oh yeah, he's got a deep staff. That's why he's got a deep personnel staff. So. He's got a lot of advantages, but he knows what he's doing as well. Part of that is just experience and being allowed to make mistakes over the years and not get fired and blown out and learn from those mistakes. So we talked about that advantage many times, which a lot of guys don't have. And Miami's the perfect example. They blow out the GM because he didn't want to move these guys and bring in an interim GM and say, hey, you got to move these guys. Basically is what's going on down there.
Yeah, John, he's already played 402 snaps this year. That's more than both of his prior 2 seasons, where he had 134 last year and 366 in 23. Obviously, those seasons were cut short due to injury. 22, John, I believe, was his best season. He had 77 pressures in 22. He had
It's a
10
lot of
sacks.
pressures, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of
According to
pressure.
PFF, he had 10 sacks, depending on where you look. I think somewhere else had like 8 or 9 sacks, but 48 hurries and 19 quarterback hits. So 22 is a very productive player. And so far this year, already 32 pressures, 3 sacks, 4 hits, and 25 hurries. So he's having a productive year so far this year, John.
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, there's no question about that. This is not about, a guy he's still young. He's only, as you mentioned, as a first round pick, he's on the 5th year of his contract. So he's got that option year. He's still 26, 27 years old. So still plenty left in the tank. And you could argue maybe even more from the standpoint of, the silver lining of those injuries is you don't have all those snaps piling up on your body. So you can look at a positive standpoint. And he's played okay with a bad team. So that tells you something too. He's not the type of guy that's going to tank if things are not going well.
Right.
So, good. This is Howie's made a lot of trades that we've talked about, and everybody gets excited about him. This is an actual potential difference-making trade. This is a guy who's can be a headline player on your defense if it all falls into place. And Vic knows how to use him. He knows Vic's system, so you don't have the usual ramp-up period. This is one of those where, everybody who thinks they're a contender should have been trying to prevent the Eagles from making this happen. But, not
23,
everybody.
John. Is that when he was with Vic, or was it 22 and 23? What it was just 23, right?
Yeah. Vic was only there for 1 year.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Because, I remember it now.
Yeah. And, it was a very good defense until the injuries piled up. And
in only 6 games, I think, with Vic that year, John. 366 snaps. He had 27 pressures and 7 sacks.
Yeah. And they were, like I said, Van Ginkel was the other piece of the puzzle. He got hurt later in the season, and that really crippled him. But and if you're watching him yesterday, I mean, that a completely different defense when he's on the field. So they had a good defense. People don't realize that in Miami.
Yeah.
And he was a big part of it early on until he got injured.
What's the deal with the contract, John? It said you mentioned early in the show that the Dolphins are going to pick up some of his contract for this year. It was like a $13 or $14 million contract because it was his 5th year option that they picked up. How's that work, or what do you know right now? I'm sure that you're still in the information.
Yeah, still in the Dolphins are picking up a big chunk of change to get a pick is essentially what's going on. So it's not going to impact the Eagles at all from a cap standpoint.
Yeah.
At all.
So,
at all.
And do you think if this player, lives up to the expectation right now, however you would define that, this guy will be here long term? Like, do you think they would pay him? Because it doesn't change that you still have a bunch of young guys on defense you got to pay. You basically just added somebody who's got to get paid faster than the young guys.
Yeah, that's something for down the road. If he turns into a star and they win the Super Bowl, they're going to bring him back. He doesn't, then it becomes, a more layered decision process. How well does he play? How well does Nolan Smith play? Does Nolan Smith play well? What player do you like better? It's a more layered discussion. I think everybody gets caught up into that and the immediacy. The good part of that is the Eagles' property for 9 games in the playoffs. And you get to make that decision. You don't have to make it today. And he's on the 5th year option. And again, if you don't want to pay him, he's eligible for the compensatory pick formula.
Right.
They get that pick if they want to go down that route and play that game. So
which could be a good comp pick. If he has a good rest of the year with us, he'll get paid.
Yeah, if he signs a big contract, it'll be a 3rd round pick. If he signs a big time edge rushing contract and the Eagles don't want to pay it, it'll be a 3rd round pick and you get the 3rd round pick back. So again, that's the smartness of Howie Roseman. But I don't even know at this stage, again, people got way too caught up in that stuff. Howie's got to make the decision what he wants his off season to be does he even want to play the comp pick game? Because last year he went more maintenance. He might be in more of a buying mode this season.
Right.
So a lot of things factor into that. And you'll probably hear a lot of talk about that elsewhere. Doesn't effing matter today. This is about this season.
Right.
This is
Third
about
round pick to
seizing the
get better
moment.
this year. Yep.
This is about seizing the moment, and then you'll make those decisions down the line based on how he plays.
Yeah. So, but it is interesting to highlight because you look at the compensation you sent and you're like third round pick for half a year. But if you are going to play the comp pick game, John, you could get as high as a third round pick in the comp, can't you? I mean, I don't know if you would qualify for that, but you could, so you basically could get a return from the comp pick game to really make this a cheap deal for the Eagles, and with the Dolphins picking up some of the salary as well. That's a big move there. John, this is a winning weekend, as we talked about at the open of the show. Winning weekend for the Eagles, where everybody loses. The Dolphins or the Lions lose, the Packers lose, the Commanders lost last night in a big way. The Dolphins or the Cowboys play tonight. But everybody lost, John, and the Philadelphia Eagles, get better in the week that they don't play. It's a good weekend for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, if you want, again, it's to me, it's sad. I know, but guys like Tucker Kraft, it looks like he suffered a season-ending knee injury. Jaden Daniels, potential season-ending injury. Like, I hate that stuff for anybody, but it not. From a competitive standpoint, that really impacts the Packers, really impacts the Commanders. So there's not much that went in a negative fashion for the Eagles this weekend. I mean, you couldn't draw up a bye week with everybody losing. And these are games that you kind of looked at and said, Carolina's got no shot. Minnesota's got no shot. Now Washington hasn't been playing well anyway. They got blitzed by Seattle, but
yeah.
And by the way, Sam
Sam
Darnold can fucking play.
Oh yeah, he can.
For all those idiots. But it couldn't have gone much better for the Philadelphia Eagles. And you got one more step to that if Jonathan Gannon can upset the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep, no doubt. So your Eagles sitting up top at the NFC right now at 6-2. The Bucs are also 6-2. The Seahawks are 6-2. They beat the crap out of the Commanders last night, even before Jaden Daniels got hurt. The Packers lost yesterday, which was a crazy loss there. They lost to the Panthers, and then the Rams, Niners, Lions. So, John, the Eagles are in good shape right now, man, sitting up top, and now adding a player in Jaelan Phillips. Obviously, we'll get to all Super Chats today. I want to welcome everybody for being here. Big crowd in here on a Breaking News Monday edition. We appreciate everybody for doing it. We do have some Super Chats we'll get to, but it's a winning week for the Philadelphia Eagles. John, do you expect Jaelan Phillips to be ready to rock a week from today when they play Monday Night Football versus the Packers?
Yeah, I expect he'll be able to go and, situational role. But as I mentioned, everything he already understands the system. He's been in the system before. So that helps. He's been playing. It's not like he's got to ramp up like somebody who hasn't been playing. So he should be ready to go for at least rotational snaps, I think, and then it'll increase as it goes on. I think by the end of the season, he should be one or two, depending on where Nolan is and when.
So, John, they haven't had their bye week though in Miami. Is that something that the team will factor in? That he hasn't had a bye week yet, and he'll, he basically won't get. Now I know he has a mini one here because he played Thursday night, and then you get a kind of the weekend off, and then you don't play until Monday. But still, I mean, you're playing in every week of football. I wonder if they would factor that in at all, or not really.
No, you only got him for the, as you mentioned, 9 games. You want to use it up. And the playoffs, obviously, the Eagles are going to be in the playoffs. So, no, he's going to play. I'm pretty confident that he's going to play. He's not the first guy to get traded before a bye week and not have a bye and have to play an extra game. It's a rotational position to begin with. They'll be careful, but he'll play. He's here to play, and he'll play immediately.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Fired up everybody this morning off a big win. We're going to talk to Jeff Kerr this morning, so we'll get his takeaways. Let's get to some of the great people of JAKIB Nation here who checking in on the big Jaelan Phillips trade. Here's James Carver, $50 super chat. Thank you, James. Phillips trades a miss and grade at best an A-, but C B+. Chubb by every metric was a better pick. Edge setter, run stopper, replacement coverage, drop-in coverage, team pass rush, pocket integrity, and even sacks. Phillips is a pure pass rush win rate. Reddick 2.0. Oh my, Carver not loving the move, John.
Well, this is the player Vic liked more, so I'm going to defer to Vic. But, Chubb's also older. He's almost 30, I believe.
Phillips is 26, and he just turned 26 in May.
He's a younger, but they're both good players, and they both have had success with Vic Fangio. But, it was very clear that throughout the league, it was very well known. And I wrote about this on Sports Illustrated Saturday. This is the player that the Eagles were looking to get, Jaelan Phillips, and trying to work it out. So, Miami, they could have asked for Bradley Chubb and probably not having to give it up a third-round pick. You probably get it to day 3, probably a conditional 4th or something like that, because of his age. Injury histories as well. He missed 2024, Chubb. Good player, though. I mean, I think he would have helped them. If they got him, I'd be saying the same stuff. But the Eagles wanted Phillips. That's the player they wanted. And I'm not counting the Myles Garretts of the world because that's not realistic. That was never realistic. But this is the player the Eagles targeted, they wanted, and they were able to get him. But everything's about valuation, and everybody evaluates differently. And Chubb's a very good player as well.
Yeah. Chubb, Phillips, they got one. John, do you think they will continue to make moves here, or do you think this is the end now?
I think there might be some moves of players going out.
Well, yeah, I meant to ask that. You got all these players coming in. They got a lot of cornerbacks, John. You bring in another edge. Who do you think is going out, and who needs to go out?
There certainly is. There's not a lot of value with some of the players that would be going out, so you might just have to release guys at the end of the day, or put them on injured reserve, which they've already done with Marcus Epps and Azeez Ojulari. I'm sure if they could have gotten something for Azeez Ojulari, they would have traded him, not put him on IR. But so there's ways, but obviously they're not going to be meaningful. This is the splash trade. You never say never with Howie, but I think this is it from a splash standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably it. Maybe some roster management moves, kind of like that Jair Alexander move. John, I did want to also talk about that here before we get Jeff Kerr up. I'll read a couple more super chats and then we'll get there. Rawson Found says, do you think Howie is done at edge? Kind of just answered that, but I'm thinking he's done.
Well, it's definitely done at edge. Yeah, definitely. I mean, now he's got too many edges to the point he had to put Ojulari on injured reserve. Eagles did not have a problem at all with their rotational players. In fact, Uche's having a good season as a rotational player. Jalix Hunt now fits into that role, which is probably the best role for him in the second year of his career. They had no issues with those supplemental guys. They wanted a headliner, a number one, and they think they got him. We'll see if they're right.
No doubt. Good stuff. Ross, in fact, I saw your tweet as well to me. He's looking for Trey Hendrickson, too. I don't think you're getting both, Ross.
Come on, guys.
Dirty D. What's crazy is Micah Parsons has 6.5 sacks, and he isn't the sack leader for Green Bay. Yeah, well, he's impacting the
sacks defense. Are overrated. Is this the first time you're listening to this show?
No, it's not. Dirty D's been here a while.
Come on. Yeah, how many Rashawn Gary sacks are the result of Micah Parsons running the quarterback into Rashawn Gary? Go watch the film. Micah Parsons has been the best pass rusher in football this year, and he hasn't even played the normal number of snaps because they ramped him up coming in late. Yeah, man, people are obsessed. Unless you get up to the Myles Garrett territory. And there's
start thinking about that, John.
And there's some other guys. And finishing is a trade. I say that all the time. There's certain guys. Trey Hendrickson is one of those guys. Nick Bosa when he's healthy. Those guys. Max Crosby, tremendous finisher. Those are rarefied air guys, but yeah. Don't get caught up in the sack numbers.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. I'm with you, John. Good stuff, everybody. John, real quick, the Jair Alexander move is another one that happened this weekend. I only talked to you briefly on a Sunday morning edition of Football 24/7. It almost feels like we're in a Football 24/7 within Birds 365 right now. But just your kind of thoughts on the Jair Alexander move and clarity on that, and what you think of that move they made on Saturday night.
Yeah, and that's more of an move, more of a dart throw, more of a hey, let's bring him in, see what he has, see if we can get more out of him. Big name trap potential. Former second team All-Pro in 2022. 2020 was his best season when he might have been the best cornerback in football, to be honest. Tremendous cover corner. Life moves fast in the NFL. He's not that player. Couldn't get on the field in Baltimore, which is having a bad defensive year. They've gotten better recently, but he's not on the field. Was a healthy scratch. His last two games there. And if you go back to the third game, he was active, but didn't play at all. So, is he better than Ringo, Jackson, Bennett, potentially?
You said you still think Ringo's the best option.
Yeah, certainly. Well, certainly coming off, he's got to prove it. I mean, he's been inconsistent. He had his best game against the Giants before the bye. Now, people have pointed out that that's not the best competition in the world, and that's fair. But the last time he played the Giants, he was awful, and he got benched, in the first quarter. So there's improvement. You can't look at one game and not point out the second game where he was graded by PFF as the best defensive player on the team. That was by far his best game of the year. Hopefully you gain some confidence from that. But I don't think the Eagles have solved their cornerback issues, even though they signed traded for two cornerbacks. I still think it's Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and hope from that standpoint.
Who is going to walk out there Monday night, though? Next Monday night, is it going to be Ringo?
Yeah, it's going to be Ringo. Yeah.
Oh man, you should.
I don't know.
I was getting the comments yesterday flowing in from our morning segment. John's an asshole talking about Ringo, blah blah blah, all these different things. I'm like, I don't know.
I'm an asshole for talking about a football player. You got to look in the mirror.
Not for saying that you still think Ringo is better than Jair Alexander.
These people, that you're talking about, the guys played 61 snaps. I don't know how much they watched the Baltimore Ravens. My guess is 0. And I don't know how much they watched a Jair Alexander tape. I remember, though, they were making fun of him when A.J. Brown schooled him. I remember that. I do remember that. I know they haven't watched him in Baltimore. You know how I know that, Zander? Because he played 61 freaking snaps.
He only played 2 games. Yeah.
He's given up. He got destroyed in Buffalo. He essentially played 1 game. Gave up 5 completions, 5 targets, 5 completions, way over 100 yards. But yeah, he was an All-Pro in 2020 and 2022. Champ Bailey was an All-Pro like 8 times, and they had 12 Pro Bowls. If time stood still, why don't you trade for Champ Bailey? Morons.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. I want to thank my boy Philly Sports Wraps for becoming a member today. Thank you, brother. I think that's an upgrade. So thank you, bro. I can't see on my side, but I do appreciate it. Here's Charles Menifee. If Phillips is as good as I think, the Eagles are the most complete team in the NFL, even considering the weakness at cornerback too. I would agree with that.
Yeah, well, right now they look, especially coming off yesterday, they look like the best team again. And that's honestly, before they got Phillips. Um, Everybody's got holes. And the Eagles had their game where, nobody, I mean, think about how bad that Thursday night loss was to the New York Giants, especially how the Giants have continued on. That was an abysmal performance. So, this happens in the NFL for all these good teams. They have these poor performances. The Eagles have been able to avoid it more than most. And, they do have the pedigree of understanding how to get through those types of things. It seems like they've gotten over the hump from their little hiccup. Howie, you can tell how he sees, look, maybe that wasn't the thought process in the offseason, but in season, he's like, it's there for the taking. Let's go be urgent about it. And yeah, I mean, the Phillips trade makes them clearly a better team. Clearly a better team. Everything falls into place on that defense. Like I said, their rotational players are good.
Right. It was they needed headliners. They needed players at the top of the depth chart.
Yeah. And now potentially they've gotten it.
Yeah, I was watching some Jaelan Phillips highlights last night, actually, because you had mentioned on our show in the morning that you thought Phillips would be the move. And the way you said it, I'm like, John didn't just say that as, it sounds like he has some intel there. So I went and watched some Jaelan Phillips highlights last night. He is a disruptive player when he's on his game. Obviously, the highlights are the highlights. It's not the low lights, obviously. They're showing his best snaps, but he can be very disruptive, John, when he's playing well.
Yeah, and look, he's been healthy this year. Now, the people down in Miami will tell you he's not the same player as the guy before. Like I said, he looked like, and sorry, I'm texting, but he looked like he was turning into a true star before the injuries took hold. So, I mean, you gotta see how it fits, but the part I'm most excited about is he's been able to play in every game, and he's still playing hard for a bad team, and that's not the easiest thing to do. So I think he'll get some juice from coming into a good team. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he did, just to run down real quick for everybody just checking in, the injury report is he did have an ACL tear last year in end of September. So he missed the rest of the season, missed 13 games. He only played in 4 games last year. It was like an accidental shot from his teammate, Jordan Poyer. It was a weird injury if you go and look it up. And then in 23, he had a Achilles tear in 2023. That happened on the MetLife turf. That was in November of 2023, and he missed the remainder of the season there. So those are the 2 big injuries he's had in 23 and 24, and now he's played all games this year. So he does have an injury history, but still a very young player. He turned 26 in May, so he'll be 27 next May. So young player, and he's on his 5th-year option right now. Here's James Carver with another $50 super chat. Thank you, James. James says, Alexander has lost a step, but J-Mac is right that he's still better than existing, and they're banking on man cornerback naturally degrading to a zone cornerback, and only elite man cornerbacks can retain skills and can apply to playing zone because they can play off but still apply the skills. Yeah, I kind of saw that with Slay, Carver.
Yeah, that's what, I brought up the Slay, but I also brought up, Jalen Ramsey with Vic, the history. Like, some guys embrace it, some guys don't. Ramsey didn't want to embrace it. Slay did. Slay had a big year in his final year here. So we'll see how it works out. But yeah, it's always good. He knows how to play, Alexander. So, I mean, that's the big advantage he has over Ringo and Bennett, who are young players who make a lot of mistakes, but very athletic. And they have a higher ceiling if they ever hit it. But, you know, are they ever going to hit it? It doesn't look like it. Alexander knows how to play, similar to Adoree. That's Adoree's advantage. He knows how to play the position. And he's a higher level than Adoree Jackson even, but has not played well recently when he has been on the field. So look, it's a worthy dart throw is how I described it. I don't think it's a bad trade because if it doesn't work, who cares?
Yeah,
they didn't give up anything.
They swapped the 6th and the 7th round pick.
So I think that people, because God forbid you criticize the Eagles. I didn't even criticize them. I think it was a fine trade. It's just not meaningful. Like people made it out to be splash. This is splash. Today is splash. That was not splash. As evidence,
it's the name trap, though, John. That's what it is.
Exactly.
You talk about all the time. Yeah,
exactly. And that's evidenced by what they gave up to get him, which was essentially nothing. But yeah, it's a worthy dart throw.
Yeah. Deadline is 4 p.m. tomorrow, everybody. We'll see what Howie ends up doing, if he makes any more moves about there. So, should be interesting next day and a half here on JAKIB Sports. We will be covering it all for you morning, noon, and night. Appreciate all of our super chats today. There's nobody I want to talk to more right now than Jeff Kerr, and he's in the green room. Let's bring him up here on the show on a Monday edition of Birds 365. You can follow him at Jeff Kerr